This is Taylor from Defenders and Disciples, and this is Meet the Pressers.
Boom, perfect.
All right.
Yeah. And I think Taylor, our special guest here, has built the better mousetrap. At least conceptually, he has. Taylor is an inventor, a shooter, someone that's been in the 2A space for quite a while. I believe you have a law enforcement background as
Yes,
well.
sir.
And he invented a new timer that actually gives somebody something visual, a visual stimulus to help them to shoot. So, Taylor, welcome to the show, sir. Thank you for coming on.
Well, thank y'all for having me on. It's a pleasure,
Yeah,
pleasure to
so
be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you. So one of the biggest problems I personally had with using shot timers,
Mhm.
it develops a stimulus response pattern of beep, and then people automatically drive the gun out and shoot. And we start chasing the timer and have that kind of stimulus response pattern that's we develop an automaticity based off of a sound.
Mhm.
And what you can do is go into a room full of competitive shooters and hit a timer and watch how many of them go like this towards their holster. It's
Yep.
actually kind of scary.
Yeah.
So a lot of the training that I've been a champion of is really trying to, process novel information before firing the shot. We talk about target identification, all these different things that needs to take
Mhm.
place in a real world scenario. So your product, I think, is probably the one that have learned about that does its best to fix that problem. So do you want to talk about it?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, I completely agree. We're creating a response to this auditory stimulus, and a lot of times we're just chasing how to respond to that stimulus as fast as possible. And if we know anything about the real world, it's visual. And so if you have to respond to something, a real world threat, it's probably going to be visual. So there's actually two, what I would argue, more deeper problems related to this and why I developed this device. And the first one is the lack of target focus aiming within the shooting space. And if anyone's been in the industry for more than, a decade, they know that the predominant narrative is that you have to focus on your front sight, like a really hard focus on your front sight. And the problem with that is when I hear that, I think blurry threat, blurry target. Now, when you're shooting on a static range with targets that are not moving, there's a nice contrasting background. It's not a problem, right? Because it's not a human being. But if you have to shoot someone, you have to be processing that person not only from a tactical standpoint, because they're going to be moving in and out of cover and elevating or lowering their threat condition, but also from an ethical and moral standpoint. Because just because someone presents a threat, you don't get to tell the cops, well, I just started blasting, right? You have to defend every one of those shots after you start shooting. So it's a constant positive feedback loop of shoot, are they still a threat? Shoot, are they still a threat? Because we say in the shooting space that we shoot to stop the threat, but very rarely do we train to stop shooting when the threat stops. So that's the first problem that I sought to solve. The target focus aiming. The second problem, which I kind of hinted to it a little bit there, is this idea of scripted training. So for the most part, any training I've ever done, be it in the Marines, law enforcement, or civilian training, has been scripted outside of like role play and situations like that. And what I mean is we give the students a drill to do, be it a build drill, a failure drill with, two to the body, one to the head, or whatever the case may be. And then we hit that buzzer or say go or say gun or whatever. And then they just run that drill, right? So we've already given them the program to run, and then they're just hitting play and they're running that file. So there's no thinking, there's no processing involved. They're just doing that mindless drill on some arbitrary response. And so the device I wanted to develop is one that creates more of an open loop. And so that way they're constantly perceiving what's going on downrange and letting that dictate whether or not they need to continue to press the trigger for additional follow-up shots. Because once again, we say we shoot to stop the threat, but we don't train to stop shooting when the threat stops. We just train to start shooting. And if you get in front of a juror and say, well, he was a threat, so I did a bill drill, it's like, well, was that too much? Like maybe one shot would have done it, or maybe
Yeah,
he
was that a
stopped right when
hundred
he drew
dollar
the
bill
gun.
or a $20 bill? Which bill?
Yeah.
And quite often, we see how training scars develop. I'm sure all of us have witnessed someone that went bap, bap, and then stopped, and then went back. Maybe they needed three, or maybe one would have done it, but they're so conditioned on doing that same thing repetitively on the range that it
Exactly.
shows up.
And I was
Exactly.
doing the UTM civilian instructor course yesterday, and I saw my prospective instructors coming around the corner, and he had his hand on his gun right off the get go, unconcealed hand on the gun, and he's a civilian. And the second he came around the corner, the role player was like, "Why you got your hand on your gun? Why's your gun out? You're gonna shoot!" And he freaked out with it. acting. And
Yeah.
And afterwards, that AAR was like, yeah, I mean, you can't just run into every situation with your hand in your gun. You can't just assume that situation's a bad situation, or you hear somebody go,
Absolutely.
oh, and they reach for their heart, and then next thing you know, people are reaching for their guns, kind of like you were saying, Clint. It's got to be
Absolutely.
realistic, because I like to say, I call it the reaction scale. If you overreact, you're going to jail. If you underreact, you go to the grave. And we got to work in
Yes.
this gray area in between, that the bad guys are all over the place. They don't play fair. Some
Absolutely.
want to go back to jail and have fun with Bubba, and some, don't care about dying. So,
Yeah, I completely
Well,
agree.
any
all right, we got to do
future,
it. We got to salute Elon for making it to a trillionaire.
yeah,
God bless him.
I only got water, so
Yeah.
Starlink. I'm hoping to be the one of his billionaires at some point with my investment I did.
Did he really just make it to a trillion?
Yeah, he's the
Wow.
first trillionaire on the planet. The next most rich guy is like somewhere like 300 billion, and he's a
So far
trillion.
behind. Well,
So
he is way out in outer space.
he has so much you money.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's
He can
absolutely.
do whatever he wants
insane.
now.
Watch this full episode of Meet the Pressers exclusively on We the Free TV. Come on, man. Give up Starbucks for a couple of days, and you can afford a We the Free TV subscription.